And we'll get to sports in a little short while. But first, it's the interview that everyone's been talking about. This book that's riveting. It's a tell-all book. It's a page-turner. Call it what you want. I'm telling you, I'm not blowing smoke up Aden Duale'S skirt. I must tell you, it's a good read. It's a really good read. Well done.
Thank you. I also read your two books.
You've read?
I read your book.
Were you?
In the African Eyes?
Yes.
And the one of the Mau Mau leader.
Correct, which was my grandfather.
Yes, Misunderstood.
The Misunderstood.
I read your books.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tell me, the title, For the Record. Why?
That's a very good question. My first title was Not Personal. Yes. Because I wanted to speak about the politics of betrayal, deceit.
Yeah.
And then as I told you earlier, one of the chapters in this book is 22 minutes.
Yes.
It took 22 minutes for Jubilee Party to end my 8.5 years career as the leader of Majority Party.
22 minutes.
22 minutes at KICC. So when I set to, after 22 minutes, I went back home, and that office is very, very busy. So I found myself with plenty of time and energy. So I read 3 books. I started with the book by John Bolton, the former national security advisor of Donald Trump. He wrote a very fascinating book by the name The Room Where It Happened. So discrete, serious, bureaucratic discussions, state discussions. Then I read, because at that time there was too much of the deep state, the systems. Of course, you remember the Kibichos and the Matiangis and all these characters who are that title. So I read a book by one of the top columnists, New York Times, called Mike Lovrigen. He wrote a book on the deep state, the fall of the Constitution, and the installation of shadow government. It's very, very interesting. I wanted to understand all this about deep state. Then finally, I read a book by the former British Prime Minister, David Cameron, who used the same title, For the Record. Then a number of the people who were together in the conversation told me, if you use a title not personal, you look vengeful, you look somebody who is bitter.
Yeah.
Then I went back, I said, a lot of the information in this book is information mainly from Parliament. And Parliament is a house of records. And what I'm telling the people of Kenya is history and a tale of records. Then I picked on the title, For the Records.
Wow.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So listen, your intention when writing this book, what's the ultimate intention? Is it clearing the air? Is it letting people know what happened?
No, I think if you read the 32 chapters of this book and you go through the 370 plus pages, you will understand the intention. And I have discussed in this book word for word, events after events, between 2002, 2004, but more so from 2005 referendum to the last general election when we formed government. And the running theme in this book, particularly on the politics and leadership, is betrayal, deceit, greed for power, backstabbing. And I've accounted in detail 3 or 4 governments, the Grand Coalition government, for the Kibaki and NAC government, the Grand Coalition government of 2007-2013, 2013-2017, the first 5 years of Jubilee, and the 2017 to 2022. So you see, these are over 20 years events that have taken place now. So you see, and how I've done this book is that if you start reading chapter 1, you'll forget your cup of tea that you have. You keep on reading and reading and reading. So it flows.
Yes.
Yes, and fascinating.
How long did it take you?
It took me cumulatively about 3 years, but during the period of the campaign, around April to August, I had to take a break.
Because of campaigning?
Oh, because of the campaign.
But you didn't always want to be a politician. You wanted to be a lawyer.
I wanted to become a lawyer. One time wanted to one day become the Minister for Foreign Affairs. I found myself when I was in school, addressing the UN General Assembly. But I think now I'm okay. I'm the Minister for Defense. I have written a book. And, one of the reasons why I wrote this book is that even to tell policymakers that my story and my life should be the Kenyan story. That a person born in part of Garissa, in a place called Garissa Ndogo, can rise to be the first leader of majority party under the new constitution, and then becomes the Minister for Defense. A region that is a victim of discrimination and marginalization. That if policymakers who are based in Nairobi read my book, then I think they will understand better. And I really wanted my story to inspire young people. Yeah. That if they dream, if they work hard, if they are principled, and if they commit to God, then they will achieve their dream.
Tell me something. Getting to Cabinet Secretary Defense after I read the book, that's not the end game. There's something else.
What is that?
President?
No.
You say no?
You know, if you remember, and it's in my book, I one time said, 10 years ago, I said, when William Ruto becomes the President of the Republic of Kenya, I will quit politics. Right now, I am the Minister for Defense. My body is the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces and the President of Kenya. So I think I've achieved much. Yeah. But and I want you to read. If you read the book on Deep State by Mike, he tells you how there are statecrafts. Men and women who are statecraft in the US. They influence the Congress, they influence Pentagon, they influence State Department. And ultimately, the president of the US, they influence him.
Yeah. Does that happen here?
So me and you, everybody should not run to become the president. There should be men and women who are ready to run the day-to-day affairs of state and become statecrafts.
How did you convince him to write the foreword?
I think you ask him tomorrow. He's going to launch tomorrow. and it's a very fascinating foreword. Yeah. It's not a normal foreword. I've read many books where people wrote foreword. Right. Yes. And by the way, this book has motivated the president and my friend, and he said he's going to write books. Oh. Yes. Oh. When he got this copy, he said, "What? I thought." You took my forward for many years to come. I told him, no, the book is ready. And he said he's going to write. And in this book, you'll find many things. Okay, let's start with first time you were elected, right? Yes. 2007. Yes. Under ODM. Oh, yes. Huh? I was a loyalist of Baba. That's why I say Baba indicted me into the school of politics. Yes. What was that like? That time, I was young, and the incumbent in that constituency then called Duale'S was a very long time minister, Malin Mohammed. Yes. That has been a member of parliament and a minister for 20 years under the Moi and partly the Kibaki administration. And there was urge for change in that constituency. ODM was a currency at the moment. People were tired of President Kibaki's administration, and more so in that region, because of, you remember, the redemption of the Muslim youth to the US, to Ethiopia and all that. Yeah. So we were among the young leaders who coalesced around Odinga in the formation of ODM. And the story about ODM is how we lost the party to Kalonzo Musyoka and his surrogate guy called Daniel Manzo. You know what? Even if we had no party, Manzo took over the party.
Because they owned the name, or?
No, they were the registered officials. You know, we used. So Manzo said that the party doesn't belong to you. And many years later, it happened to me and William Ruto when we had a party called UDM, before we looked for URP. And so we campaigned for Raila Odinga, mainly in the Muslim areas. For the first time, we campaigned for a Christian candidate at the pulpit of the mosque, because there were very, very serious issues that concerned the Muslims. You know, the Qadi's court, the young youth who were redented to Ethiopia. So when I joined, and I was his chief campaigner in the north, both in terms of numbers, in terms of resources. And that's where the politics of deceit started. In my book, you'll see it. When the cabinet of the Grand Coalition was formed, you know, Raila Odinga looked at me in the eyes and said, you know, Kibaki has appointed another candidate, Haji, to be the Minister for Defense, so we can't have two of you from the same county or from the same district then. And I remember I told him then, you should have told me. I should have gone to PNU and square out with the Haji for the ministerial position. I was part of your coalition. So the point of deceit started there. I got a small job called Assistant Minister for Livestock. I did very well. I used to, you know, assistant ministers in that, during those days, yeah, because they were part of parliamentarians. Oh man, we answered questions in parliament. Yeah. Myself, the late Orwa Ojode, Joseph Nanok, Mwangi Kiunjuri, and many others. Every afternoon, we were saying, this and this happened. It was a bit very embarrassing. That was the basic job of an assistant minister.
Is to answer to
and
parliament.
I did until 2010, when we differed ideologically, not only me, even William Ruto and company, and we parted ways with Raila Odinga.
But William Ruto was fired by Kibaki's government, remember, as minister?
No, it's Raila who fired. Me and William Ruto, we were fired on the same day. It was around 3 o'clock. I was in my office, and the screen, the Citizen TV and many other media screen, the following have been sacked as ministers. William Ruto, Helen Sambili, Aden Duale. And you look, after that we did a press conference.
Right.
Yeah. So this journey we started a long time ago, man. you must go through fire and pain, yeah, to reach where you want.
Tell me, are you disappointed with Baba all these years later? Are you disappointed? Because you said he taught you everything.
No, the only part I am disappointed with Baba, or two parts why I'm disappointed with him, is that he is still in the business of politics of deceit and betrayal. Even today, you know, and I really want to talk to the people who are around him now, that one morning you wake up and see Baba went and did a handshake with Uhuru. He didn't consult Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula. He didn't. Yeah. And he's going to do that. If at all there will be a handshake, which I don't think so.
You don't think?
No, it's not doing. This business of handshake of Baba is going to end in his administration. You know, Kenyans go to elections to elect government and to elect opposition. So you can't go to elections then when you are given by the people of Kenya through a popular vote that your place is not government, your place is in the opposition, like now the way Raila and Kalonzo and Mada Karua and all of this team, their place has been decided by the people of Kenya. Look at the numbers in the Senate, the numbers in the county leadership, the numbers in the National Assembly, the numbers in the presidential votes, even if you are beaten by 100 votes. So you cannot now say, I must now be a squatter in government because the Kenyan people decided me to be in the opposition. Yeah. I think if we don't do that, then Kenyans should not go to an election. What is every democracy, in the U.S. I mean, Donald Trump wanted to force himself when he lost.
Yeah.
He was told, no, your place, the Republican Party, today they're the majority in the House of Representatives.
Yep.
Your place is in the opposition. So I don't think all these shenanigans, from where I sit, somebody must say enough is enough. Because if you want to share power with the person who won fair and square, then it should go down up to the MCA. There are people who lost at the gubernatorial with very little margin. Members of parliament, senators. I mean, the guy who lost to James Orengo should share power with him at the county level. Sakaja should share power with, what was his competitor? The Jubilee guy.
Oh,
Yes.
I forgot. Yeah.
Yes.
Him. There's a chapter on the ICC.
Oh, yes. That is a long chapter. And in that chapter, I have confirmed that the whole story about the ICC, particularly the Kenyan ICC cases, not any other case. I mean, we are members of ICC. Other countries can have their own way to indict and review the performance of ICC as an international criminal court. But in the Kenyan case, I have documented, because I myself went to The Hague 26 times.
You counted?
Yes, because I have their tickets, and I've been keeping them. And from the first day of the appearance to the status parties conference,
Yep.
to the cross-examinations,
Yes.
both for President Uhuru, for William Ruto, for I have a lot of respect for Ambassador Mudaura, General Ali, Sang, and Henry Kosgei, that the ICC question in Kenya was an international conspiracy.
How so?
And I will confirm to you, because I'm saying I've been there. You know, the Western governments, you know, after the post-election violence, you remember the Kofi Annan, you know?
Yeah.
How the Kofi Annan came with 3 different commissions, the Waki Commission, the Kriller Commission, the TJRC. And in that game plan, from the records of my book and from my testimony, that Raila Odinga was assured by the international partners and international Western governments that come the next general election, you will be our candidate. And who are the probably most likely candidates who will be a threat to his candidature? And that happened to be William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. The rest were just flower girls. They were escorting Uhuru and Ruto. So the central theme of ICC was Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. The rest were just, and that's why on the way on the roadside they all dropped. So the 2 remained. Why do I say so? I attended with Professor Kindiki the Status Parties Conference. We engaged the European delegation and ambassadors at The Hague. You remember the choices have consequences. The Western government, the Americans saying, if you elect Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, you have all those.
Yeah.
And that even led to another chapter on how at some dark of the night, the demons, and Musalia Mudavadi was given the mantle by Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
Because the Kikuyu bourgeois, the guys who control the economy and state, and the deep state then of President Mwai Kibaki, told Uhuru Kenyatta and his family that if you become the president, we will be the victims. Our coffee will not sell, our tea will not sell, our properties in Western country, the country will not sell flowers. They scared him. So, I mean, and we followed the lawyer's argument and the lawyer's testimony. You remember the story of how witnesses were coached by the human rights team. And all these are documented in my book. And ultimately, how the judges came out clearly, and that these cases are based on sand soil. I mean, they will crumble anytime. So in that book, and you remember even I have put it in this book. You remember one time in Parliament, myself, Charles Kilonzo, Boni Khalwale, Isaac Ruto, we tabled some documents implicating the British government. So, in a nutshell, my chapter on ICC confirms that it was an international conspiracy with its local partners, led by Raila Odinga in this book, and all geared for the 2013 general election. Raila Odinga had a stake in government. He was a prime minister. So for the first time, he's controlling state machinery and apparatus. It was part of the deep state. And that's why you'll see another chapter on how we, then the Jubilee, TNA and URP, how we defeated the deep state. Because Raila Odinga was a prime minister, sitting prime minister. Yeah. Kalonzo Musyoka, who was his running mate, was a vice president of that government. The deep state, the Kimemias and all these teams, and the Nick Wanjois and the Kibaki's cabal, those in the military and the security were with Raila and his team. So that tells the chapter on ICC. Mm. Yeah.
Let's come back to, you mentioned the Madimoni scenario.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Where President Uhuru Kenyatta gave the mantle, literally, to Musalia Mudavadi. He's shocked.
That was the saddest part of my political life. You know, we had a candidate, from a URP point of view, we had a candidate called William Ruto. Went around the country, sold him as our candidate for 2013. And then Uhuru Kenyatta abandoned KANU and assembled a party called TNA, or formerly the late
Ginyo
Kariuki. And at some stage, we formed a merger. We said, you guys, if we have to deal with the issue of ICC, if we have to win government, then if we present both Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, we are not going to win. So what do? We must sit down and agree on a candidate. And we agreed on the candidature of Uhuru Kenyatta. And we had a coalition agreement, sharing of government, proper. And the people who were doing behind the scene was Charles Keter, myself, Ekwe Thuro, and Ali Makwere from Ruto's side. And the other side was William Kabogo, Rachel Shebesh, Abdul Bahari, Jamle Kamau. And we did very well. We formed, you remember our story in Jivanji and Norfolk, where we brought in Najib Balala of his Republican Party. Yeah. You remember the horse? Yes. Yeah, his
symbol.
Symbol.
Yes.
Ultimately, in 2013, even he didn't get even an MCA. The same with Charity Ngilu. Yeah. You know, Charity Ngilu is a very smart woman.
You called her a schemer in the book.
Yeah. She's a very smart woman. She will be in every government. She stays with you. She realized you are winning. The only time she was not very smart was 2022. Somebody enjoyed her and told her Raila and Uhuru's wing will win. So her and Balala, they got cabinet positions, but with no delivery, no shares, as Rigiji always says. It's not a good term. So
yes.
Then when we are about to launch our manifesto, one day, you know, we missed both our leaders. We missed Uhuru Kenyatta and we missed William Ruto. So our team in Parliament, the 10th Parliament, we kept on calling and not picking their calls. Later we realized, we were told that early in the morning they drove to Musalia's house and told him that after the pressure from the deep state and the cabal around Kibaki, Uhuru threw the towel. So they were there, they agreed on an arrangement. Musalia becomes a flag bearer, he gets 33%. William Ruto becomes a deputy, gets 33% of government, and Uhuru Kenyatta gets 33% of government, and he stays out. So around 5 o'clock, William Ruto gave me a call, and he says, where are you guys? We are in Parliament. Can you come to Grand Regency Hotel? You know, we went there. All this is in my book. And when we went there, we waited, myself, Kabogo, Shebesh, Linturi. And all of a sudden, a group of UD, they were called UDF, United Democratic Front of Musalia. It was a party which was basically formed by Nick Wanjoy, the private secretary of Kibaki. And they started hugging us. All of a sudden, somebody comes and hugs you. Kalwale hugs you. Washeli hugs you. And we said, what's going on? They said, you guys, thank you for government. So we're wondering, what's going on? Then all of a sudden, Uhuru, Musalia, and William Ruto motorcade come in. They go to the summit. Then they draft a press statement. We come down. And if you look at that press conference, I was nowhere to be seen. I just stood very far from it. And they said, this is what we have agreed, to the full glare of the media.
And you had no clue?
We had no clue, man. And that is what you can even call the politics of deceit and betrayal to some extent. So what I did was I jumped into William Ruto's car after the press conference, and he was heading to the airport, I think to go and brief President Kibaki, who was in Mombasa. And between Grand Regency to the airport, we couldn't talk because the drivers and the board guards were in the car. Yeah. So he kept on saying, let's go to the airport. I will brief you before I board. So by the time we went to the airport, people were boarding. So if you are going to Mombasa, you have seen the washrooms next to the KQ VIP.
Yes.
So we stood there for 2 minutes. I asked him what's going on. He said, man, Uhuru has thrown the towel. I told him, man, we cannot. We are going to lose the elections. And there was no way we are going to win that elections. So I told him, fine. He said, I'll come back tomorrow morning, we will talk. So those of us,
been angry.
So we were angry, and not only me, everybody. So in the following morning, we came to Parliament. Our team, they're called the cabal, Uhuru, what he did, President Uhuru is a very unique animal. He doesn't want stress. Yeah. After he went under the blanket and he locked his door. So they kept on calling, the TNA guys kept on calling him, going to his gate. He refused to open the door. So we came back and we said, let's go and camp there. We camp at that gate, not far from here.
Caledonia.
Yes, Caledonia. Yeah. We camped, ask...
I've heard given that story.
Call Kabogo, call Linturi, call Karek Mbuki, call Cecily Mbarire, call Rachel Shebesh.
You were all camped there?
So ultimately he opened. And we told him, my friend, please, if you don't do what we want, we are going to Baba.
You're going to defect?
Oh, we are ready to defect because we were there, we want to be part of the next government. If Uhuru has ceded ground, we have no business being part of a movement that is going to the opposition.
Waziri, hold that thought. This book is very riveting, and you're telling it like, you're walking us through it like...
It's word for word.
Word for word.
Yeah, man.
I'm telling you, folks, get this book if you can. If you want to read about Kenya's history the last 20 or so years, it's right here. And it's for the record. Aden Duale, Cabinet Secretary for Defense, first ever majority leader under the 2010 Constitution, and elected MP 4 times under 4 different parties.
4 elections.
In 4 elections. Even this 2022 you were elected.
I won.
You had to step down.
I was ready in the event we don't form government. I was ready to take the opposition benches, become the chairman of Public Accounts Committee. Yeah, I fit everywhere. I was an assistant minister in government. Yes. I was sacked. I went back to the back bench. Then I became the leader of majority. Then they sacked me in 22 minutes. I went back as a ranking member. And then back now, I am now under the oversight of Parliament and its committees.
Wow. Fascinating stuff, folks. Keep tweeting at Kwenanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JK Live. JK Live takes a break. We'll be back.